Okay, welcome everybody. This is day 5 of the 12 days of Christmas. So excited to have everybody with us again this evening, or if you are watching the recording, which a lot of you are, thank you so much. I also want to give a big thank you to everybody who so graciously sends me DMs or texts me and is like, sorry, I haven't been able to make it. I'm going to watch the recordings and catch up. I love that you guys feel like this is an obligation to being a part of the life community. Please let yourself have grace. You don't have to feel bad about it, but I love that you're thinking of this and you're thinking of me. So whether you are here live or here for the recording, I'm just glad you're here for it. So it's our 3rd annual. And what's also exciting to see is that the viewership is increasing. So obviously it means we're doing something that you guys are enjoying. And I will say yet again, it just all falls into place in terms of the guests that we have. And so many of our guests this year kind of intertwine into one or another. I always try to intentionally get you industry guests, meaning people that are directly involved in knitting, crocheting, making in that aspect. And then I always try to have more non-industry, which isn't really the case because having a farm, having animals, that's not non-industry, but definitely people that you would be even less aware of, and the content maybe even less aware of, which I think sometimes is what some of you really enjoy the most. I got a lot of feedback on our program with Jean and Bob Ford and the Newfoundland ponies because that is so different from so many of you, and I love that. And at the same time, I knew maybe not as many people would be live because it was lesser known, but the feedback actually has been greater. So that's amazing. So this is for anybody watching, take a little time. You don't have to watch and sit. You can listen and just challenge yourself maybe to tune into something a little bit different, a little off the beaten path. So tonight's kind of like halfway in between, I think. So as always, before we get into our guest and before we get into content for tonight's program, just gonna do a little bit of housekeeping. Of course, we've got the chat open, so we've got you guys rolling in there. We do have Erin, who is helping us out by moderating, so she'll be dropping links for everybody. Of course, that doesn't help you if you're watching the recording, but if anything else, it's just incentive to try to get to one of our lives. Couple of things that we've got going on this week, which I've been excited to see people take advantage of it. If you missed our 50% off skincare sales that we always do, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, we, I think, started last year as well, offering it throughout the 12 days of Christmas. So until January 6th, which is our last evening together, that's our wrap-up party, so don't forget. You can take advantage of 50% off our skincare using the code TDOC2450. Now, I thought about it. It's going to kind of seem weird once we cross over into the new year, but you get the idea. It's like that school year, we're going to be on 24, 25. We're going to all have to make that transition to writing 2025. That's actually, oh my God, I'm already going to go off script here. That was actually what was weird about being in New York City today. Many of you, if you saw my stories, you saw we were doing that, like already seeing 2025 and forgetting that tomorrow night is New Year's Eve. So they were actually starting to set up for the ball drop and getting the stage set and all. So that was actually kind of cool and cool for Alex to see. But so yeah, it's almost here, the new year. So I hope you guys are looking forward to it as much as I am. And we all probably have goals and things that we want to have set for the new year. And maybe just getting into the new year and surviving is your goal, and that's okay too. Sometimes we all feel that way, especially those of us that have a farm, Allie and I. So that's skincare. Take advantage of that. We do want to also remind you about this great keepsake basket that we have. Now, the way to get in that keepsake basket, of course, is that if you are shopping with us throughout the week, whether it's for the skincare, whether it's for those of you that jumped in on our next Crafting with Cotswold online class, which is now sold out. Thank you for that. Whether you are jumping in on the 4th annual Life and Rainbows Knit Along, all of these things are what's going to get you tickets to go into for the keepsake basket. So again, for every $10, you get 1 ticket that goes into the basket. I'll just say off the top, because I've been forgetting to mention it, if you missed Kimberly and I kicking off the first of the 12 days of Christmas. The sweater that is on the dress form behind me is actually the inspiration for the 4th annual Life and Rainbows Knit Along. So we're going to be doing color work, and it can either be a sweater or a cowl. So there's going to be 2 options. And what we decided to do this year was a little bit of a soft launch. So no, we don't have the piece. It actually hasn't even been started. You know how Kimberly and I roll. Come on, it's not until February. But we wanted to say that this is the inspiration. It's all about grandmothers this year. You know, we always tie in family in some way. This is actually a sweater that was knit by Christopher's grandmother, and they had gifted it to me. And every time I wear this sweater, people are always commenting about it. They're always asking me what the pattern is, and I had yet to find somebody to kind of reconstruct it. So, you know, Kimberly's amazing like that. So this is going to be the basis for this year's knit along. So if you want to jump in early, knowing that you want to be part of it, please do. And then that means you're going to have first access to some of the new yarns that are going to drop before I go to Vogue Knitting Live. The purchase of the workshop and the yarns are going to be separate this year for those of you that have been with us for the past 3 years. So we are doing it a little bit different. And then, of course, if you jump in on it, that's 7 tickets to go in for the keepsake basket. So off the top, I'm just going to kind of roll down what's in here so far. I will recap this again at the end, but I know sometimes we lose people because we never know how long the program's going to go. So far in our keepsake basket, remember, it's something donated from every one of our guests in some capacity, which has really been fun. So I call it a keepsake basket because whoever's the lucky winner, it's such a cool way to kind of remember all of our guests and have a little bit of something from each of them. So Kimberly has donated one of her workshops on her website. Our second guest, Kevin and Ray, gifted us 2 skeins of yarn that they hand dyed along with 2 enamel pins. Then we had Jean and Bob Ford. So we've got a hoodie sweatshirt from their Newfoundland Pony Conservancy. And then also a really cool, it would be an awesome yarn bag, but a really cool, really sturdy. I don't know about you, Allie, but I actually want this as my merch. I'm going to where they get this made. No, like the construction of it is really, really nice. It's super sturdy.
I love it.
I love it too. And it's a drawstring backpack. I find usually these are more of like that that nylon, I don't know, like that really chintzy kind of stuff. So anyway, that's in there. Then last night we had Ashley and Catherine, and that was all about her Girl Scout project. So 4 boxes of Girl Scout cookies of your choice to be gifted by them once it's Girl Scout cookie season. And then tonight, Allie has also donated some of her merch from Grateful Acres. So far, that's what's in the basket. And we're only at day 5. So that's a little bit about that. The last thing I want to remind you guys, you have to stay with us till the end, because every night we will have Allie towards the end pick a number, and somebody will be the lucky winner of a $20 store credit to shop with us at Life. That's good for throughout the year. And don't forget, then we've got our wrap-up party. So at the wrap-up party, somewhere in this content, I'm going to find a trivia question. And then at the wrap-up party, we have 1 trivia question for each guest, and whoever answers it first, and you can only win once, we have tangible gifts that we will then mail out to you guys. So we have a lot of fun with that last day. So that's all I have for kind of my homework, my housekeeping. I keep calling it homework, housekeeping. And so the other thing too, don't forget, in case I lose you somewhere along the way, check out our schedule. Tomorrow night is New Year's Eve. So if you're staying in and you're staying safe, or even if you go out but you come home early, regardless, I'm going to be with Linda Courtwright again from Wild Fibers. If you know her stories, you know her pictures. She is amazing. So if you don't have any crazy plans, please join us. We also have her next lecture series that's already launched as well. So many of you have purchased that. That is $35 for 4 lecture series. So that is up there too. She's going to talk a little bit more about that tomorrow night. We also have a new pattern drop coming later on in the 12 Days of Christmas. We also have a dye collaboration happening later on as well in the 12 Days of Christmas. So I have just stacked it. Each year I get better and better because each year I can be just a little more organized, guys.
Woo!
So that's what we've got.
Exhausted. And I haven't even said a word.
I know. And sometimes I know I talk a lot, but
No, I love it.
that's that's our housekeeping. Now, guys,
I
if you
love
liked
it.
the night with Kevin and Ray and all the banter, I can promise you if there is somebody who I'm not joking can match my level of energy and enthusiasm, it is this woman. So I am going to let
Oh.
Allie, I think, introduce herself. And then of course I'll just kind of roll from there, but you'll very soon find out if you didn't see my stories that I posted today in terms of how we know each other and how all of this has come to be. And I'm going to cut her off, she's going to cut me off, we're going to have lots of fun, lots of high energy, so you guys are all right. Allie, tell
I
us who you
love
are.
it.
Somebody is like, who are you? Introduce
Uh,
yourself, tell us a
okay.
little bit.
Well, thank you all for being here, and thank you, Tabitha, for inviting me to be a part of this. This is so exciting. Like I said, you'll probably hear the dogs behind me barking. It's always kind of a zoo around here. My name is Allie Kennedy, and I am the founder of Grateful Acres DE. So if you have your phones on you right now and are so inclined to find me on Facebook and like and follow our page, I always forget to say that. So this may be a chance. I'm located in Middletown, Delaware, but maybe some of you may be traveling through here or just want to stop by and say hello. So what Grateful Acres is I am a nonprofit care farm for mental and emotional wellness issues. I'm a big advocate for mental health, and my story is one that comes from a lot of grief. And when I say that, during the pandemic, I lost four very close family members in a very short period of time, and no one to COVID. I lost my dad to lung cancer, my mother to a primary glioblastoma, my grandmother to Alzheimer's, and my Uncle George had Parkinson's disease. And so it was just, not only were we in such a state of, I was anyway, disbelief, having all of that go on during a pandemic when you can't go into doctor's appointments with people, and it just is a whole thing. It was a really, really dark time. And I was by myself. I had left my family here in Delaware. I went down to Cambridge where my folks lived, and what I thought was going to be a couple of weeks was a couple of months, was a year, was 16 months, and with a lot of loss, not being able to have a funeral. It just it was dark. That's all I can say. I wouldn't wish it on anybody. But so when I came back home, I was either going to drink myself and my wine bottle and I into a a state of comatose every evening, or I needed to do something else. And how it started, I know Tabitha knows this. I mean, the first time Tabitha and I met, she came here to shear my sheep, and we just started talking, and I just brought up that I had lost my mom, and the tears just started to flow. We both were, next thing I know, we're hugging, the tears are flowing,
And we really had really just met.
we just met, and we
Just
are
met.
embraced in a full-on hug, and the tears are coming. So but you have to let it out. I'm a crier. I could even cry tonight. I've been telling this
Oh,
story
I
now.
cried last night. Don't worry. I was waiting for it. I never make it through the series without one cry.
So just be prepared for it. It's probably going to be good tears. But Millie, that's one of the dogs on the food tray. So I may step away and just give her some food so she stops doing that. But anyway, I was down in the barn. I had come back home, and I was down in the barn, and I just had the one horse at the time. My one horse, Miss Cooley. I grew up on a farm, so I know a lot about animals. Guys, look, I'm going to just go right over here.
You know what? Go do that. And I'm also, you know what, guys? So I'm going to jump in and let you guys know about Thelma and Louise, and that way how we kind of came to be. And I don't always totally remember the beginnings of of Allie's stories. But the part that's funny, which some of you who have been with me before, so oftentimes I might shear sheep at one location, and then either if those people move, so I've had many instances. Sometimes people move, they take the sheep with them, so I might shear them in one location and another location with the same family. I have had a few other situations, which seems strange, but the people might move. Oh gosh, now I have my dog here.
You can't make it up.
Because the door got open. So then I have another situation where people would move, and this one I don't understand, but look, I don't judge. People move and they leave their animals at the home. And then the new homeowners take on those animals. So that's another situation. And then the third situation of how we met is maybe somebody owns these animals and then their life changes for whatever reason. They can't keep them. So Thelma and Louise, I had sheared when they were located in Maryland. And I think it was maybe 1 or 2 years that they were in Maryland that I sheared them. And then they got relocated to Allie in Delaware. And oftentimes the people are really good about passing along, sharing information, or I ask for it so that I can make sure that the animals continue to be cared for. Now, there's many a time when I show up and I'm like, why the shit did I do that? These sheep are so big.
These sheep are the size of a thoroughbred.
Guys, we're not kidding. I posted one video in particular. I posted a picture. Like I'm not a small person, guys. I'm built like a 2x4. And when you see me up against the size of Thelma and Louise, it is just absolutely incredible. So it is a challenge, to say the least, of which I always hit Allie at the end of my 2-week rotation going down south. So she's on my way home after I am dead ass tired of a hard, like 2.5, sometimes 3 weeks. And then I show up to do those two beasts, and all you can do is laugh.
They are beasts. And what I love is that, you all know Tabitha probably very well. And first of all, she's strong as you know what. And the first time of me standing there watching her wrangle these sheep, I was like, and all I want to try to do is help. And she's like, Allie, move back this side. And the sheep are floundering, and somehow she does it every time. And every year I reach out to her, and every year she comes back here and puts herself through this torture. So for that, I am so grateful. I truly am. And that is how I inherited those sheep, was through a friend, a mutual friend. The sheep, I don't know if they were going to be euthanized or what was going to happen. So on our care farm, I am not a rescue. All of the animals that are here, they have their own story of how they ended up on this farm. And most of them is because they lost their human. The goats were literally left to die on a farm, and someone found them. The people had just abandoned them. But I always do take my vet to wherever an animal is coming from, have the animal checked out. Sometimes it takes us a couple of weeks to get them there. Right now we are at capacity. We have a full house here, but I will tell you that all of the animals also here are very humanized, which means all of the groups that we have partnered with, they get hands-on experience with these animals. They're all very loving, and I get such a kick out of just seeing this farm like through the eyes of a child that shows up for the first time, that's never, that really is maybe an inner city kid that's never, been to a farm. A lot of times their most favorite thing to see is a chicken egg. Something I take for granted every day is walking and collecting the chicken eggs. And when kids, you open up the back of the hatch and they see the eggs in there, and their eyes they can't believe it. They can't believe that a chicken just laid an egg in here, and they take the egg, and, it's just very heartwarming. We've partnered with a lot of groups. So I guess I would like to tell you what animals we do have here on the farm.
And I want to give you credit, Allie, because what I need you to do is, because I know that you probably are taking for granted of painting the picture of how in such a short amount of time your farm has changed and developed and grown. And I guess I've had the opportunity to see most of that. So, I mean, honestly, so go back before you
Okay,
have to share the dog to, okay, so you were away, you come back, so you already
I
had
came
the
back
farm, right?
and I
Already had
was
the
I
farm.
was in my barn, probably with a wine hangover because the grief was overwhelming for me. But having studied, psychology back in the day and all of that, I was sitting in my barn with my one horse, Miss Cooley, and all of a sudden I noticed that our breath was in sync, and I just started to feel so much better. And as we were breathing together, it was like an epiphany. Just a light bulb went off, and I thought, my gosh, if I feel this good just by being around this one horse, and I also, though, have the tools to help myself just through my schooling and all of that, I need to give back to my community. This world is hurting. My community has to be hurting. We just got out of a pandemic. I'm not the only one that has lost family members and loved ones, and we also lost two dogs during all of that time. And I knew that I wasn't the only one that was grieving. So I came up and I said to my husband, "Listen, I had this idea." And he's like, "Oh my God." And I said, I want to start a care farm. And I knew a little bit about care farming. I've heard about it. I have a friend that lives over in the United Kingdom, and there's care farms everywhere there. And I've always been very big on mental health and inclusion and belonging. And so he's like, "Allie, you have no business." "What do you mean?" I said, "I don't know, but I'm going to do this." So that was in September. And by
Because
Jan,
you had the farm, you had the barn.
I had the
Did you
barn. I
have
only had
all of
one
those?
horse.
Okay, so you only had one horse. Had you
Yes.
ever owned varied livestock before?
Yes, I grew
Okay,
up that way. Like,
okay,
that's how I grew up. So
okay.
I know there were people that, even my good friends, that had no idea that I grew up on a farm and knew about animals and the care and what goes into all of this, because it's a lot of work. There's a lot of animals here, and there's a lot of groups that come through. And I'm down there, you know, I basically ran up here to hop on here from the barn, because I do have a volunteer coming tomorrow morning. So I went through the whole process. I am really an educated woman of YouTube on how to start a nonprofit. I got a lawyer, I got an accountant, I filed with the state of Delaware. I just started to do all the things. I started to look for animals. Millie, Milman, come here. I started to look for animals that may need a home, and what kind of animals did I want to bring to this farm. So it was a process. And that June, I had all of the paperwork in. And I want to say, Tabitha, I met you that year, the very first year. And really, how I started was just by doing farm tours. I'm like, I'm going to open up this farm. And it was a lot of people that came through that summer, just to tour the farm and to see what it was all about and what is a care farm. And then in November, with about $4 left in my bank account, to run this nonprofit, my daughter said, "Mom, she works, my daughter's a teacher. She has her master's in special education." She said, "There's a lot of talk about Grateful Acres. I think you should do a Giving Tuesday fundraiser on Facebook." And I'm like, "I don't know." She said, "You're never going to make it if you do not raise money. This is how it works." And I said, "I know that, but that was really out of my wheelhouse. The money part was something I was not good at. I didn't want to ask people for money, wanted to do this on my own." Now, I'm going into my fourth year. Oh, I don't have a problem asking people for money. I'm asking people for money all the time. But we did the Facebook fundraiser, and in one day, we raised over $10,000. And I knew in that moment that my community was embracing what was happening here. They knew that I wanted a safe place for adults and kids alike, a place where everybody felt included, a place where everybody felt needed. Um, and it just grew. So the first year it kind of rolled like this. And then we went into the second year, and I went from maybe having 10 volunteers the first year to literally maybe 50 volunteers the second year, of people that come on a weekly basis and want to help out, and they want to be here, and they leave feeling better than when they came here. And so, I always tell people, every Sunday I hop on my Facebook page and I do what's called a Sunday sit down. I will have been doing this for a year in March. I just tell people it's early in the morning. I hop on with my coffee, and I never know what I'm going to talk about, but I just talk about the week and things that have happened in my life that week. Sometimes I say that I'm selfish because it's a safe place for me to come and talk. But if it just something that I say resonates with one person, then I've done something for that week. And I will tell you that as I've been doing this, the messages that I get week after week, it's been incredible. I mean, and I'm always in tears at that. Just today, I got a message from a woman. It was just a woman that I hugged at a Christmas Eve service, but I've been watching her. This message was incredible, and it's people. I wouldn't know that she ever watched my Sunday sit down because I don't ever go back and look at that or see how many people I viewed it. I just do it, and then that's what it is. And she said, I watch your Sunday sit down every day, but I wanted to send you a private message. So sometimes when I think, do I really want to continue to do this? I know that I do because it's reaching people. And I just want everybody, to feel worthy. And I like to say, it's not because of me that these people come to this farm. It is because of the animals. And they are the best therapy that I think anybody could ask for. I mean, where else can you go and sit with a 1,000-pound sheep? Now I'm teasing. I don't think they're 1,000 pounds, but they're pretty big. But these animals are just so loving. And like I said, if you follow Grateful Acres DE on Facebook and Instagram, you'll see that I post a lot of myself, especially with the animals, laying down with the pigs.
Yeah, I was going to say, guys, for all of you that love to watch me post, and not to interrupt Allie, but I also feel like I want to give her the flowers. For everybody that does like to see my stories, because you like to see the animals and just fun things they're doing, I don't need to watch this. And sometimes I will even watch Allie's just because it's fun. And it's the same, it's that same vibe. So,
and I feel the same about yours. I get
so definitely check out her stories. And I do feel like also your stories are, you definitely focus a lot more on your stories than your posts,
right?
Which is very similar, to what I do as well. And the only reason why I also want to interrupt you, because I personally have so many questions. I mean, I'm in awe of you every time I show up to shear and to be on your farm and to see the changes that you've made. Now, the one thing, let everybody know, because I don't know when you started the journey of being certified, but I remember the one, maybe it was just this past year. I don't know. I remember one year I was there shearing and you were very close, or you were almost done with your certification. So talk about that.
Okay. So, and through all of this and wanting to also help myself and continue to help others deal with grief, I became a certified grief counselor with David Kessler. It took about 6 months, but it was an incredible process. A lot of times I do get laughing because I would be in the dining room taking my classes, everything was online, and just sobbing my eyes. And my husband would turn around the corner and he goes, when it was over, he goes, is this really what you want to do? And I'm like, it really is. I'd just be hysterical. And he goes, I don't know. This doesn't sound like a lot of fun to me, Allie. But over the course of the time, I just realized that I needed to be better educated to help people deal with their own grief. And it's hard. There's a fine line to not carry other people's burdens as well. So here with a lot of my volunteers, maybe not a lot, but I have volunteers that come here on a weekly basis. Some are in recovery.
I'm sorry to, but this is what I do. Because I'm curious, because that's another thing I was going to ask. So when you say volunteers, are the volunteers that are coming part of the grief care, or are they volunteers that are coming to help do the things, because the improvements that have happened around the farm, the things that have been built and changed are also amazing. So where are your volunteers coming from, and how would you describe them?
Okay, so I would have to say both.
Okay.
I have a women's group that comes every Thursday, and this started, and it's just we have our own stories of how we ended up together. And I would say there's some grief there. We talk, we hug, we cry. I'll have them up here for breakfast every once in a while, just because so we're not always down at the farm doing a lot of the stuff. But they're here all year long, every Thursday without fail. They're the most wonderful group of people.
And
And then
how did you organize that? Like, just because, I mean, I don't know that anybody is out there, but again, not just being selfishly asking questions, but it gives people.
no,
So
yeah.
how did you start that, or did it grow? Like, how did you get the word out?
So it kind of grew, and it's not. I will tell you, the women that I say they're in my women's group. I do have other people that reach out sometimes and say, "Oh, well, tell me about this women's group." But really, it is a closed circle right now. I just feel we started at the very beginning, and I will tell you, Tabitha, that when I ask people, how did you hear about me, or what brought you to this farm? I mean, is it my charming personality? I don't know. But they're like, "Well, I watched you on the whatever and you were just so bubbly and full of energy." And I just thought I might need to be a part of that. And so they show up, but then once they meet the animals, I mean, they're just pulled right in and they want to continue to come back. So the women's group just was a group that kind of came all in within like a 2-week period, and we started working together. I mean, I have 2 women that were in the Air Force. They can build anything. You've seen what has happened here in the building part. And when I say building, I mean it's all our old fence wood. It's just repurposed everything. And I'm amazed. I look around. Trust me, I'm not the builder. I just learned how to use the staple gun this year, and they know I don't want to learn anything. I only want to take care of the animals. I don't want to know how to use power drill, but they make me. They make me. So I've had to learn to do these things. And I think there's 8 of us, and there's also 2 of the gals are homeschool moms. So I get 3 boys that come on the Thursdays as well that are homeschooled, and they're all just incredible helpers. I have students in our school district, in the Appoquinimink School District here that I partnered with. So if you're in ag, you can get your 50 work-based learning hours here on this farm. That's a great help for me. So if I have 4 students and they each want to take a day and they're coming to maybe do the closing one day, it really does. It just takes a lot of pressure off. I have kids that come every weekend. And it's just, once again, it's amazing to me. I have 3 sisters. One just left for college. I think Jenna's in 10th grade and Kat is only in 7th. So they come every Saturday, rain, snow, sleet. The parents are like, "You're going. You committed to giving Miss Allie 1 hour a week." And their family also gives a monthly contribution to Grateful Acres. Sometimes my mind just gets blown. For example, when Lizzie, the oldest sister, just graduated from high school this past year, as her graduation gift, she asked her parents to make a $1,000 donation to Grateful Acres for the care of our barn cats. I mean, I don't know. Sometimes I pinch myself like, are you kidding me? You just graduated. When I was graduating, I was begging for a car or, something like that. I sure wasn't asking my parents to give that money to some charity, but just amazing. And the kids that have been here and volunteered, they always come back to visit. And that's another thing that I just love. Like, I'm having breakfast with Lizzie next week before she goes back to college. And I have a student that's now at University of Alabama. It's just, I don't know. It's amazing. It's amazing.
Let me get you to shift gears.
Yep.
So let's talk to everybody about the animals on your farm, because again, what I thought was important, and of course everybody wants to hear a little bit about some of the personalities and what you have there, but what I love is that you highlight, look, we're not a rescue farm, meaning, the animals that you have secured maybe have their own stories. I do really appreciate and value that you've taken a look at the space that you have. Yes. You're like, we're done, we're full. I think that's important. Sometimes I don't always see that in certain farms, sanctuaries. So I really love that you have a mission in that sense of like the animals that are serving a purpose in both ways, right? Everybody is benefiting. you've made sure everyone's got appropriate space,
Right.
and and they're, it's their home, right? But they're also the vehicle for helping people just as much as people
Right.
are helping them. So talk to us about, all of the animals, the different kinds of animals that you have, because I even think it's funny when I go into the barn to feed the sheep, and you've got this whole like guinea pig land
I
in the one
know.
stall.
Can
So
you
give
believe it?
everybody an idea.
So we do, believe it or not, we have 3 resident guinea pigs that live in a stall in our barn. Now, I grew up with animals. I will be honest, I had no idea about guinea pigs in a barn until when I started, a friend of mine that was boarding her horse at another farm reached out and said, little Susie has these guinea pigs that she wants to rehome because now she's a teenager and could care less about the. And I said, I don't know. I don't guinea pigs. She goes, oh no, they live in the barn. I'm like, don't they run away? She's like, Allie, they live in a stall in the barn. So believe it or not, and I always reach out to my vet. Dr. Weeman has been the best thing that ever happened to me because, like Tabitha was saying, you probably wouldn't even be able to walk in the fields because they would just be filled with animals that you want to try and help. But unfortunately, it's not that way. And so I learned very early on from my vet that he said, and I asked him, how many animals can I have in this for the space that I have? And he was very, honest with me. Even right now, he said there's room for one more. But I think that for me personally, too, we have 7 acres. So it's not that big. I mean, it's big enough, but it's 7 acres. And right now, so I have the 3 guinea pigs that live in a stall in the barn. We have 5 barn cats that just roam around. They're wonderful. And then I have 9 resident ducks that I'm just telling you, when you watch the stories, it's hard for me to explain. They're very smart. The ducks are very smart. When I tell my ducks to coop up, they get to go out back and wander and swim and do all of the things. But when I say coop up, those 9 ducks, they just go right back in their stall, all in a little line. I'm fascinated by them. I just am. I'm just fascinated by them. So we have the 9 ducks. And then we have 1 steer, Frankie, who was named after my father because he is a piece of work. And so we have the 1 steer, and everybody wants to know, are we going to get him a companion? Or we tried to give Frankie a companion. Frankie's very happy to be in his pasture, himself. He has a stick that he is very attached to, a big limb that fell out of a tree. We call that his girlfriend. He loves it very much, sleeps next to it, moves it all around. It's hysterical to watch. But Frankie is happy to just be in that pasture himself and let the donkeys and the goats walk by him and he can talk to them. So we have 3 dwarf Nigerian goats, 2 donkeys, and 3 coon pigs. So the donkeys and the 3 pigs share a pasture. The goats have their own area. And then out in our big field are the 2 sheep and the 2 horses. And then we do have turkeys. They have their own little area, Zeke and Zoe. So it's a lot. And we have 3 chicken coops that also or that you have to take care of. So there is quite a lot that goes on a daily basis around here. But that's
Now, of course, every time I come there, I'm still like, there's not a llama here, like they would be great. I do try.
I know you do. I would love to have a llama. I look around, I think, where would it go? Wouldn't it need a friend? Do they get along with horses? I honestly, I would educate myself on them, of course, but it's like, I don't know. I've never had a llama. Millie and Cora, here, come on. Sorry, guys. I don't know if Amazon must be here.
Oh my gosh. That just makes me laugh because, right, that beeping noise, it's the same thing around here as well.
That's what they're hearing.
And then the worst thing was my new van that I showed up to Sheeran this year. it has a backup beeper because it was a Verizon vehicle. So now here at my house, every time I leave at whatever godly hour and my van is beeping, everybody thinks Amazon's here, which sometimes you never know. Sometimes Amazon is here at all hours.
That's what I think they were hearing. Oh my God. Anything makes them bark, though. Anything makes them bark. So I think I'd have to say, of all the animals, though, here right now, that the steer is probably the most popular.
Really?
Yes, Frankie gets a lot of attention.
But now can is he, and look, because appropriately,
Yes,
not every animal is necessarily like halter trained, handleable.
right.
So, you know, can they get to him, or is it just that they just love
They can only get, so Frankie's the only one that I go in with him. I'm the only one that can go in with him. But from the fence, he loves to be scratched on the side. He loves to, get a half of a banana. That was another thing this year when the vet was here. Unfortunately, like I do a lot with adults with autism and the adults with disabilities, and they love to feed the animals. That's their most favorite thing to do. However, I was scolded.
I knew where you were going with this. That's why I
Yeah,
was like,
I was scolded terribly by my vet about the size of my animals. And so everybody has been cut back. There are no treats. Now we just walk around and everybody gets pets. And also everybody else contributes. Everybody, when they come here, they have a job that they have to do. So, my one men's group that comes every Tuesday, who are just hilarious. They come and they do about 3 minutes of work, but they always leave with 2 dozen eggs, and they will not leave here unless I have their eggs ready for them. But they just love to spend time out there with the animals. They're just happy to pet them, to groom them, anything that they can do. But there's no more feeding.
no, wait, I will come to your rescue because Thelma and Louise came to you already big. Now, first of all, they're big sheep to begin with. So, for all of my fiber lovers, they are not a fibered sheep. They are either Hampshires
They
or
are Hampshire, yes.
okay, so they're Hampshires. So they're a meat breed. They have a very short down that would be great for felting. That's probably about it. Pillow stuffing, anything along those lines. They're a very tall breed of sheep to begin with because they're a meat animal. So take height and then add width, and that just ends up in a really huge damn sheep times
Yeah,
two.
they
So
are.
they are not her fault. They are not her fault. But I definitely look. I always am pretty. I always say I'm going to keep my mouth shut, but I try my best too. I feel like my job is also when I go to people's farms. If I see that the animals are
Yes.
getting too much grain or too much hay or too rich of a hay or too high protein, I do my best to try to give people some suggestions to. Because also what I say too is, look, you could save money. They don't need this, right? This is about saving money. So I do try, but
Well, my thing with you was you were like, and Allie, you're gonna have to wash their behinds more. Remember, they're just so big, and everything sticks there. And so I've had to spend a lot more time doing that. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm really cutting back. They've gone on special feeds. You'll be happy to know. So thank you for that. I think
we
they might look a little.
we keep saying we're going to come up with like a sheep treadmill. I'm telling you, I will become a millionaire if I come up with a grazing muzzle for sheep like they have for horses.
Yes.
It is difficult because a lot of my customers that maybe do have pasture, you can only limit so much,
Right.
also in terms of what they ingest. And I want to say ladies because mostly it's always ladies on here. So I'm not I'm not trying to be stereotypical, but ladies, we all know this is what I hear all the time from people. They'll be like, "Well, it's winter and they're cold, so I increase food in the winter and then I reduce in the summer." It does
Yeah.
not come off. Once we put it on, it's so easy to put it on, but how hard is it to get it
Oh,
off?
it's so hard. I don't even want to talk about that. But all of mine are on restricted feed right now. Like we have, You'll be so proud. You won't even believe when you come back in the spring. The buckets have lines on them with the animal's name and who's allowed to have how much feed. It looks, if you had seen how much I was feeding them before as to now with it wasn't
And look
good.
at all the money you're saving.
I know. Thank goodness. Thank goodness. And we've talked about this before. I'm not doing them any favor. We talked about this with the sheep when you said, Allie, look at it's harder for them to get up and then they get the sores. And then, so for me, I mean, I love these animals so incredibly much. As you know, I do that. I will do anything to help them feel better. And I get it. It's kind of like the old grandma that wants to feed, just feed.
As soon as you walk in the door,
they're going to love me so much more. And that's what I was doing in the beginning. And I knew better. I could hear my dad in this ear just saying, you've got to stop. I hear my dad a lot of times, some of the things that I will do for these animals. And, they are farm animals. I have a friend also that has ducks, but her ducks, they are her pets. When I die, can I come back as one of Lori's ducks? Please, Lord Jesus, because I'll be so well taken care of. But, I can hear my dad talking about Lori's ducks as opposed, like my ducks. They're farm animals. They're here for a purpose, for the people to be able to enjoy. And they're also very popular here. And they're easy to, they let us pick them up and hold them. And then people can see, how soft they are and what they feel like. And kids are also fascinated by that. I mean, you see ducks out in a pond when you're driving or maybe where you live, but to actually be able to touch one is really something for them.
Well, and I'm curious, in terms of the difficulties or like, I find it interesting that you said that now the buckets have lines and things like that. So, for instance, like what are some of the things the volunteers do? Because meaning on my end, and we've talked about this a lot, and I know I'm getting off of this, and my 2025 resolution is going to be like, girl, I don't care how busy you are. You need to find, like, we need to have like, conference calls because there's so much. There's so much that I'm interested in what you do. And of course, my community is probably like, Tabitha, how are you going to add one more thing on? But I do get so inspired, but also I think that there's a lot of lessons for me because I tend to be like, no, everything has to be so specific, or people will ask about volunteering. And maybe it's a different dynamic, but I feel like people ask about volunteering and one, are they really committed? Are you going to be here every week or even once a month? Because the amount of time that it takes to train a volunteer, I don't have time to do that for you to just take this as, the hobby that you want to do this month. So I'm curious, like, what are they able to do? Are they helping with feeding? Is that sometimes part of the problem? Because not a problem in a, I don't mean in a negative way, but
no, I know what you mean.
Sometimes people who are helping feeding, that's not regulated. So what sort of things do your volunteers do?
And I'm going to tell you, I think you and I are a lot alike in the same thing, is that when this first started, I mean, I was like, I don't want anybody else to do this. Nobody else can do this like me. I'm very particular about my barn. I mean, the two younger girls that come, and I'm always saying, would you mind sweeping out the barn today? And they're like, you mean sweep the dirt? And yeah, sweep my dirt, please.
Like, I hear you.
Get the cobwebs down, whatever. But you quickly learn, though. I had to put some things aside and say, I can't do this alone. Like, this farm is truly for the people. We also have a community garden that is 100% run by volunteers and the community, and whoever comes and works in it, you take, you take what we grow, and it's always incredible. It's always incredible. So what we have done is we do volunteer trainings. I will tell you that my new board president, we have a new board of directors for 2025, is incredible. I always wonder if my parents have sent these people to me, because I'm how did you end up in my life? she lives in Maryland, and she showed up. She wanted to just come volunteer at the farm or see what it was all about. And we've become such good friends. And now here it is 6 months later, and she is going to be my board president. She's already has a volunteer handbook. She has things laminated in the barn as far as she just knows about this is how it's going to run, and this is how we're going to care for the animals. And then the volunteer training. So what the volunteers will do, Tabitha, I know I'm probably getting off the subject here, is the feedings, making sure all the waters are filled, and that, I mean, especially this time of the year, that the heaters are always working, and usually they are. We haven't had too much of a problem with that yet, but it hasn't really gotten that cold. We've had a couple cold days. So they'll feed, they water, they clean the duck stall, they'll muck stalls, they make sure that everybody has the hay that they need. So it's really, it's time consuming. But like you said, I feel that for the volunteers that are coming here once a week, once every other week, or once a month, when you're only doing it, like, they love it. They just say, oh my gosh, I just love it. And, can I come back next week? And for me, the volunteers have been really an incredible part of this process and this farm, because I can't do it all. For a while, it's a one woman show, and as you know, it takes me 2 weeks to answer emails. And luckily, I think that people that follow us and know me, and I am very transparent about everything, they just know I can't get to everything. Not, my kids are all grown and out of the house, but still, I've got kids, and it's the holidays, and I have this care farm, and I'm doing 12 hours a week of working with the state, and it's a lot. But like you, and also, trying to get to the gym once in a while, and it's winter time. But how do you make it all work? And so I just always try to find that balance. And I just know that I couldn't do it without my volunteers. You just have to give in. I mean, you have to, and say, and do things happen sometimes when you have volunteers that I kid you not, that every single time, and I don't like to go away a lot. However, Mike and I are taking a trip at the end of this. He said, after, I'll give you 3 years to get this up and running. And when you start your 4th year, if it's still a success, we're going on a trip, because we traveled a little bit, before this. And I said, I don't want to leave. I don't want to leave these animals, but I know that I have the best volunteers, and everything is going to be fine. But the last 2 times I've left just for a weekend, we've lost an animal. One was a duck. We had a fox attack, and then I lost a goat, one of my original goats. And I always tell my volunteers, it would have happened if I was here. Like, please don't ever think that you can't, it is never anybody's fault. It is called farm life. And this happens on farms. It's unfortunate, but it does. But like I said, I just can't do it. I couldn't do it without my volunteers. They are the.
So talk to us about the groups that you serve, because that's separate, of course, from your volunteers. And I know that that's really grown. So I think maybe that might be interesting for people to hear, with terms of the wellness part, the care farm part.
Yes.
So what kind of groups do you have coming?
So we do work with, like I said, adults with autism, adults with disabilities. We have a homeschool group. We partnered with the Appoquinimink School District, so kids could get their work-based learning hours here. We've had state troopers here that have utilized the farm. I just had the Dover Air Force Base. Well, it was I guess maybe in August, the Dover Air Force Base mortuary resiliency team utilized the farm for like a day of service. And then we'll have companies that reach out that want to bring. So we just had Cyberlink Train here, which is I believe an HVAC company with like 12 of their employees. They always do like a day of giving back, and they were here. And I am telling you, it was amazing. There were men and women this time. So we had one gentleman, he checked all the heaters to make sure that they were working, and some weren't. So I was able to replace them before I ever even knew that they weren't working. The chicken, believe it or not, the chicken coop windows got cleaned. just things that I don't have. I couldn't believe it. The one chicken coop now has curtains hanging in it. It's
I love it. I love it.
but if it was just me, I would know it wouldn't be
Right.
like that. It would just be a chicken coop. But so it's just been a blessing. It's been a blessing. And every week I feel like after the Sunday sit downs, and sometimes I feel like, gosh, probably nobody's going to listen to this today, or this isn't going to resonate with anyone. After those, it's just people will reach out because I say I want to have the hard conversations. If you are suffering in silence, or you're feeling some kind of way, I really do want you to reach out to me. I listen without judgment. My shoulders are broad. And it's just, sometimes you just need somebody else to hear what you're saying. And I feel, and I say this from experience, when I came back after losing all of my family members in such a short period of time, it was my close, like my husband and my children. Not that they're not the greatest things ever, because they are, but it's really hard for them to talk about it. They wanted to make me feel better and just say, oh, it's going to be okay. And it's good, in all honesty, it's not okay. Even today, it's still not okay with me that that I lost my mom and dad just like that. And in our family, I think you and I've shared this, everybody lived to be 89 to 9. My grandmother, who passed away of Alzheimer's, outlived all three of her children, but she never knew it. So she lived to be 99. So lose my parents at 74 and 75, I wasn't ready. And I still, I have a lot of grief. But I'm a big advocate for therapy. If you feel that's the route to go, I just, it's really, I just wish that we could talk about mental health. Like we would talk about what color yarn you're going to be using tomorrow on your school, like, or what we're going to have for dinner tonight. Like, let's end that stigma. Let's get it out there. And so that's really what we're trying to do. And I know that these animals here on this farm, they just, they bring so much joy. Animals are just amazing. So I am, oh, that's a good question. What kind of, I, believe it or not, I'm going to be, my husband and I are sailors, and we are sailing a sailboat around the British Virgin Islands.
Wow.
Yeah. This will be our
first sailboat?
On a sailboat.
Okay. How long are you going for?
10 days.
Nice.
Yeah. So we used to do this when our kids were younger. This will be our 11th time doing this, but we haven't done it since 2017.
Okay.
So when our kids were younger, we did it every other year, and the grandparents would watch the kids. And it's kind of, I don't know, it's just kind of special for us. And, I'm going to be married 32 years next week. And so, I'm like, okay, we're going on a sailing trip, but you do kind of reconnect with one another. You kind of get lost. And especially the last 3 years, I'm just been that Grateful Acres has really taken a lot of my time and energy. So it'll be nice to get away.
It's just important. I mean,
I know.
As much as you love the farm, you love the animals, myself included. And, you don't realize, like, once you get that vacation, once you, get away,
Yeah.
you're to, feel that and realize that, because actually, for us, we had not gone away since COVID. And then
Yes.
I didn't realize it was 4 years, 3 4 years. So last year when we finally got to go away again, I was like, oh, this is amazing.
Forget. And I preach, like, recharge yourself.
Right? That's what I just said. You need to recharge.
Yes. And I preach that all the time. And then I don't do it for myself. And then just this past July, Mike booked a trip. Now, I mean, it was because he wanted to. My husband, we're both deadheads. We're hippie people. We went to the Sphere in Las Vegas to see Dead and Company. And I didn't want to go. I was fighting it tooth and nail. And he's like, I looked at your calendar. We're going to be gone for 54 hours, Allie. You can do this. And I will say, I did it, and it was so much fun. Like, I'm not really a Vegas.
I just heard about that place. It just came up on my social media, the Sphere in Vegas.
Well, if I can say anything, to see Dead and Company there, it was truly amazing. Hence Grateful Acres. Everybody goes, what's the grateful? But yeah, I'm just an old hippie at heart. And so that was fun. So we're gonna, do the sailing trip and just recharge my batteries. And I'm gonna try to relax. That's gonna be the big thing. I'm sure once I get there, it's gonna be fine.
Oh, you'll be fine. You will.
That's fine.
Look, for what I would say from one, shepherd, shepherdess, farmer, whatever you want to
Yes.
call us, I people don't agree with me in this sense, but I actually do also, work on vacation as well because I do love it so much. So,
Yes.
I make sure I take the time to do the things that I want to do. But at the same time, if I'm laying on the beach and I'm doing my social media or I'm answering emails, or I'll use that time to like brainstorm or think
Yes.
or come up with new ideas. But at the same time, it's when I want to. And so when I'm done, I'm
Right.
done.
Right.
Or as I'll joke around, which it's no sin to say. Usually, what I'll say is by the time cocktails start, then I shut down work when I should not work anymore.
Right.
I mean, there's a
No, I
point.
agree. I agree. I'm a very, well, I don't know if you're anxious, but I'm very, go, 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 go. And I get real hyped up. And so I've got to learn to just, I don't have like the Grateful Dead. I guess people would say, well, you guys are so chill. And I'm like, well, yeah, well, I'm not chill. I'm not chill. I'm just like very like that the spider monkey on Mountain Dew, I guess. Constantly on the go. But
Well, you know what? But that's
it's
how
the
you've
thing.
gotten so many
Yes.
things done as a one woman show. Because honestly, having been able to watch the progression, again, and I've said this to you, but, to just say it to everybody else, like I am in awe of what you've done and the things that you've accomplished and the things that you do utilizing your farm. I mean, I get inspired, envious, like, oh my God, I got to be doing more, when I see your
Well,
place.
you're kind.
And we always, I feel like, have a great time in terms of the energy level when we're both there, laughing, having fun, getting the
Right.
work done. But then I'm always asking questions or just trying to pick up things from you and whatever, vice versa. It doesn't matter. I just think it's
Right.
amazing, what
Well,
you.
I'm so appreciative. I'm so
Oh,
appreciative.
I mean, it is, and everybody has a different role. Like everybody's farm, right, serves a different purpose.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
that is part of it. But of course, having my own grief journey, I
Yes.
I just love, I just love what you have done with your farm, and it's interesting, and because I'll share this in the sense that I think we had another couple on the other night that has Newfoundland ponies that they've gotten involved. They have sheep, they have a llama. That's how I know them. But what's been lovely to hear is about the therapy work that they're doing on their farm by utilizing these ponies that are actually very rare. And so there's a conservation program with the ponies, but the ponies are being utilized as therapy
That's
work with
amazing.
veterans and different people with like PTSD issues and things
Right.
like that. So in a sense, again, I didn't even think about it when I lined both of you up in terms of the wellness part of it and the mental health
Yeah.
care that, animals can do for people and vice versa. But also, I was mentioning in one of the other evenings, Alex, the young lady who's with me, like she would go to therapy utilizing the horse as the medium to get
Right.
her to have something to be able to use as a vehicle to be able to open up, talk, communicate. And this year, I thought I would benefit from finally trying to go to a grief group. And you know what I found? It didn't work for me.
Right.
And I feel like a dropout because I
Oh my gosh.
feeling,
Please do
but
not.
it's
Doesn't
so
work for everyone.
and again, it was just that sitting around, and it was interesting to me how there are some people that just have no problem. Now, of course, you guys listen to me talk for hours on end, and I could talk to a wall by myself. I can talk on a virtual program, not even knowing if anybody is there. But for me to sit and then feel like I was worthy of
Mhm.
using that time to share my thing with a group of strangers, I just couldn't do it. It was
Yeah.
good, it made me feel, but I but I really, that is literally the way I could best describe it, is I was like, you know, let them talk
Right.
about, you know, and there are some people that have no qualms about being able to utilize that and ping pong back and forth. So I think ultimately, again, for the
Yeah.
people that come to your farm, for the way that I know I would operate, you know, animals are so wonderful for that. It just
Oh,
provides a
they
different
are.
venue and a different medium for people to be able to, you know, open up and share and heal and at the same time grow and all of that.
I had a gentleman. So we do from Memorial Day to Labor Day, Tabitha. We do a Friday morning coffee hour. I just call it Coffee with Cooley because she really is the queen of the
Wait, who
farm.
is Cooley?
The
Who's
horse that I've had ever since
Oh,
we
okay,
moved
okay,
here
sorry,
was
sorry, yes.
Cooley. Yeah, she was my horse that I was in the barn with. So we call it Coffee with Cooley, but it's just a time, 7 a.m. You can, I'm always down there. I bring the carafe of coffee and mugs. You don't have to bring anything. You just have to show up. And just today, through that coffee hour, it was a lot of strangers that showed up this summer to do the coffee. But this gentleman tagged me in a post who's now has become one of my dearest friends. He's been in recovery, I think, for 3 years. He left politics. He was a big wig in politics, and now he does like nature walks and forest bathing, and it's just it's incredible, his transformation. But he put this thing out there that like the universe brings people into your life sometimes that you don't expect, and then your life changes. Like, I'm here's comes my tears now. But anyway, and then at the end he puts his person, and the person today was me, his friend for 2024, that brought, from him starting to come to these coffee hours, he met people that are now in his circle of friends. And this is it's exactly what I wanted from this farm. It just And they all come for coffee. They take their coffee mugs, they walk the fields, they pet the animals. And my hope is that, like I said, that you just, when you leave this farm, that you just leave feeling better than when you got here. It's been my only wish from day one, and I'm just going to continue to keep doing what I'm doing the best that I can.
So what are your plans for 2025? Now, I know I hate that in that sense, and I'm not saying they're goals in which you have to feel that if you don't uphold them, you know, that we burden ourselves with that stress, right? But what are your thoughts, you know, going into it? What things are you working on or adding on? You know, what are, when you look ahead?
So, looking ahead for this year for me, and I said this from the very beginning as well, is that I never wanted Grateful Acres to get too big. And I don't think that it can, because we are just 7 acres. I just have to continue to do what I'm doing. But I would like to have more veterans utilize this farm. We've been in talks with someone about that. We'll continue our coffee hour. We will continue with the groups that are coming through. We're starting to add a couple of field trips on to the farm. We did our first one this fall, and it was a huge success. It just was a huge success. And being a nonprofit, I don't like charge, they don't have to pay for the field trip. How we work it is, because our bus situation here is that, and I want kids that don't have access to a farm to be able to come to this farm. So how we worked it was, they had a letter that was sent home. It's going to be $7 that basically covered the bus. However, this is what Grateful Acres is. This is what we're going to be doing if you would like to give a donation. And it was wonderful. And we had our little jar out there, and some kids would put 5 cents in, some had a couple of quarters, and some had a $20 bill. And it just, it was just a great day. And the kids were so well behaved. And that for me is like to see this farm through the eyes of kids that would not ever have access to this is just amazing. Um, we just, we're kind, when I look at 2025, there's been talks like we're going to do some different fundraisers. I don't think that I'll do another open house. I've done 3. They've all been great. But now I think that people know where we are, who we are. So we're going to change that up a little bit. We have our next board meeting on January 12th. So I'll know a little bit more then, but just to
Well,
continue what we're doing.
a question that we have is, are you self-sustaining? Now, at the same time, of course, right, we could always use more, and
Right.
in terms of operating as a not-for-profit. So I guess maybe talk about that. And then at the same time, only while I know some people are starting to duck out, and as we're
Sure. Yes.
up the program, please, talk about that, and then let people know, maybe if they're so inclined to help, where do people go to donate? How do you accept those types of things?
Okay, yes. So right now, we have received 2 grants in the past, and I do have monthly donors. I have 4 monthly donors. And then we do a lot of fundraisers. We did the Giving Tuesday. We'll do more 24, which is a Delaware thing. Anything that kind of comes up, but you can, on our website, you'll see our Venmo and PayPal. Every month we pick a different animal that we just put $5. So it's going to be our horse, Johnny, for January. So we do $5 Fridays and $2 Tuesdays. A lot of people donate to that because they think, okay, I won't stop at Starbucks today. I'm going to give $5 to Grateful Acres. We're constantly fundraising. We just are. And somehow, some way, we continue to just make it through. We just had another wonderful Giving Tuesday. I think we raised a little bit over 6,000, which is fantastic. And I had done a birthday fundraiser, which raised 3. My birthday's in August. So those things just keep us.
That's right. I forgot. We're both Leos, aren't you?
Yes.
Wait,
I'm the 11th.
And I'm the 12th.
Yep.
I remember we discovered
that's why we get along so well. So that is, basically how we're still doing it right now. We do have some grants in right now. I don't know if we'll be accepted for those. I will tell you, at my coffee hours, this gentleman, Eric, that was in politics, said, start inviting your state representatives to your coffee hours. So I did, and I would get them behind the barn by myself. So hopefully the word got in their ear, and our state representative, Kevin Hensley, said, Allie, I'm going to help you write the grant myself. I like what you're doing here. He has a son that works in a recovery house, and his daughter has special needs. And he said, I think this is fantastic. So we're hoping that this is our year to get some state funding and also some county. We've gotten 2 grants from the county before. So, I just continue to pray every day and keep my fingers crossed. But it's, I just pinched myself that we're going to be going into our 4th year. It's just amazing. It's amazing. And like I said, it's the animals.
It's always the animals, right? And they make our job easy, for sure. I mean, obviously we're in 2 different, you're not for profit, I'm for profit, right. But regardless of that title, as I always tell people, it's just, I'm not driving a Lamborghini. Like, right. Just going back to the animals, and it's sometimes I'm not really sure why I'm for profit, not for profit. Honestly, right. I just don't think I could deal, with the paperwork and
it's a lot. It's a lot.
So regardless of how we each fund what we do, it hopefully is going back to the animals and to the community. That everybody is equally beneficial, and which I had even said to you, so I'll drop it for everybody here in our community, in our chat, to help us. I said to you, I wish, because every year when I show up to share, we're both so busy, and I wish we do have better ways to stay connected, to communicate. I did say to you, I wish there was a way for us to collaborate. I have no idea what that would look like. Unfortunately, there is nothing in the world anybody would want from Thelma and Louise. I
know. I'm really going to think about that.
Not making yarn from them. I don't know. We'd have to think. We'd have to be creative.
Yes, exactly.
I'm not sure, but I challenge all of you, if you see some
photos on pillows. I love it.
What's that?
Photos on pillows.
Yeah, I've shared with you, or I think, the company that we use, Eric and Christopher, for that. So I don't know. Yeah, I just wish there was some way for us to collaborate or find a way to work together to continue to bring awareness to what you're doing, in any small way in which, I can help with
And I
that.
will really think about that too and brainstorm.
The
I
only thing that I said I would never do, of course my gift is to be able to do shearing, public speaking. So I do a lot of like shearing days. So sometimes people that have certain farms like yours that would bring a crowd, bring public, I'm like, let's make a shearing day. You could charge for people to come. There is no hell that I would let people see me shear those sheep. Never.
If anybody is still listening, Tabitha made me. I had to think I had to sign in blood that I would not post any video of her shearing Thelma and Louise. Look, live stream it. We'll pay. It's hilarious. She said, "No, you, Allie, this is not how you shear. Nobody can see this." I'm dying laughing because to me it looks perfectly normal, but muscles are popping out of her arms, like the sweat's pouring off, and she's like, "Damn, my thighs are burning. I can't." It was.
We literally have to lay them down. I always say it's like chicken on a rotisserie. And I didn't. There's one video
speaking.
I have. I don't know whether I think it was Thelma. There was one video where I stopped because we sheared one side of her,
Yes.
and she's like laying there, like huffing and puffing, and literally I'm like just videoing the span of what is Thelma, and and then I'm like, okay, now we're gonna flip her over and do the other side. So I don't know. Maybe I would take one for the team and make a spectacle of myself. I think honestly, sometimes I'm a little worried, because it looks difficult because it is difficult.
It's
So
pretty funny.
that's so.
I think I just saw when somebody said they're coming to Dover. Did I miss? I just saw Dover. I don't want to miss anything.
Well, yeah, and somebody was just saying that they know a knitting veteran in the Dover area. And look, and that's how you guys can all help as well to share.
Please reach out to me.
I was just going to say, now I'm assuming you don't. Now, do you accept pop-ins, as we like to call it here, or does somebody like, are you open by appointment only? How does that work if somebody happens to be in your area?
Oh gosh, then just reach out. Yes, if I'm here, absolutely, you can pop in. I do work the 12 hours a week. I have a client that the state, she's allowed 12 hours a week from the state. So who I've been helping, but I'm here a lot. So I would love to, please reach out to me. Please do. I would love it. It would be so much fun.
Well, before we lose too many others,
and then
we'll wrap up afterwards. But yes, I'm going to ask you. So right now it looks like there's 28 people still on because we can't include, well, technically 27 because we can't include those of us that are responsible for things happening here. So pick a number for me and we'll go from there.
Okay, I'm going to pick number 16.
All right, so that's easy enough. It's kind of like in the middle here. So we're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. Madeline, it's your lucky night. You finally joined us for the first time live. And
yay, and that's my daughter's name, Madeline.
Oh, there we go. So Madeline, you are our winner this evening for $20 store credit with Life. So thank you for joining us. I know I need to get some sort of fancier way of doing it, but at least you guys know I'm not making it up. I'm just literally counting down my participant list. I don't know any other better way. So that's how we do it thus far. So thank you.
Oh, that's so great. Congratulations.
Now, the other thing too, guys, don't forget somewhere in all of this, we'll be coming up with a trivia question, and that will be for the wrap-up party on the 6th. I do want to just run down a couple of our housekeeping things again so that you guys can remember as we do wrap up, and then I always go back to the guest to just say, hey, what's your closing thoughts and comments or anything that maybe Allie felt like she didn't get across. But just remember again, guys, you have the use of the TDOC 2450. That is 50% off of our skincare. That is going to be good through January 6th. That, of course, we will know that you're part of TDOC. And then remember, for every $10 you spend, that is one ticket that goes in for the keepsake basket. Now, should you join for anything else, I did fail to say that in the beginning. Sometimes I fail to say all the way around. But should you join for anything else, should you sign up for the Wildfibers lecture series? Should you sign up for the knit along? Should you be purchasing something else on the site that does not utilize that code, be sure to let us know, TDOC, in the comments, so that we know that we can apply your credits, if you will, towards the keepsake basket. Now, I also monitor that, guys. So especially as we go along, if there's somebody who I know for sure you've been with me, I'll just kind of ring you up or just double check. But as we've gotten new people to join us, there's some of you that I'm not as familiar with. And so maybe your name might not be familiar to me. So try not to forget that. Of course, some of you will email after the fact, which I love. So we'll always make sure that you get your points for the keepsake basket. And really, if nothing else, I'm just thrilled to see people here, see people enjoying the content that we're providing and the opportunities to meet new people that we have each evening. Some, again, you might be familiar with, but many of them I try to make it people that you are less familiar with, because that's what this is all about. And for everybody, this serves a different purpose, much like we've talked about this evening. And I think that that's what's wonderful, I hope, about my silly little project that I came up with 3 years ago. And don't get me wrong, it's a lot. It's a lot to fit in, especially when I'm trying to balance a 16-year-old that is visiting for part of the time, the majority of the time as well. But just like Allie, if there's not chaos in my life, I really don't think I'm okay. So
Yeah, I agree.
I do thrive on that.
100%.
I thrive on the hustle and bustle. I thrive on the challenge, and I hope that that provides some sort of inspiration to anybody. But at the same time, remember, everybody, always go your own pace. Give yourself grace. We all
Yes.
operate differently, and you have to do what feels good for you and feels right for you. So keep that in mind also. So,
Aw.
Allie, as we kind of wrap up this evening, I mean, again, guys, I cannot tell you enough if you're not following. It's Grateful Acres DE. Grateful, remember, it's spelled GRATE. So
Uh-huh.
grateful, and then there's DE at the end. I guess.
Yes, for Delaware. Yeah,
Okay,
Grateful Acres DE.
so
And
that's
on Facebook, if anybody wants to just follow me personally, it is Allison, not Allie, but it's Allison Alton Kennedy um, on there as well. But, feel free to reach out. This has been a wonderful evening. What a great thing to do, Tabitha. Your energy is just, I love it. I love you. It was so fun to be here and for you to let me be a part of this community. For people that would not know about me.
but your place is magical, and you know that. And that's the amazing thing, again, the energy really that you bring to the farm and to anybody that steps on it. And again, I think, yes, certain people do attract each other, and how I end up
Right.
bawling with you and just meeting you, I have no idea. But at the same time, and I'll remember, because I somehow or other, every time we're together, it's happy tears or we're crying about something. Because if you remember, the last time I showed up, I literally had just gotten there. And then, even though I know you don't love seeing fox on your farm, then this
I know.
running across, like, I just showed
Yes.
up, and I was
Yes.
having a hard week because, again, God bless you, I always hit you at the end of a really long run on the road and being away from my farm and just
Yeah.
tirelessly
I
working
remember that. I totally
down.
forgot about the
And
fox.
as soon as that, I did not forget, and I never forget.
Yep.
And as soon as that fox run across, for many people, I don't share, but in kind of like the earlier days of when my mom passed, one of my other shearing clients, I was actually on the road shearing when my mom passed, and there was a fox, and one of my customers had said, it was the broad daylight and the fox was just sitting there
Yeah.
watching me shear. And she said, that's your mom. And so ever since then, for me, foxes resonate with that. And when I had showed up and this fox goes running across, Allie's freaking out because she's thinking about her chickens. And I'm
Yeah.
like, no, it's okay. It's my mom. And then we just like lose it again. So,
Oh my God, we did. I just started sobbing. And then
so
to find out our birthdays were one day apart was
yes,
even like, it was
yeah.
crazy.
It's just great, and again, much like the people that come to your farm, for me as well, everybody, I'm just so joyed to be able to bring to you. For many of you, I tell you, my shearing is not about shearing. These people are my family. They get to be
Yes,
my family. Even if I see them just once a year, there are people that I just show up, I shear and I leave, and that's that. But many, many, many of the people that I work for, you just develop these connections for various reasons. And there are people that I've shorn for 20 years, and Allie, somebody that's maybe more just like 4 now, and who knows how long it'll go on. But the bonds that I create with these people, it's not just about the work. It's always about the places, the animals,
it
the
is.
experiences.
Incredible.
And I am just so overjoyed to have been able to bring you to my community. So guys,
Well,
again,
thank
if you
you
feel
so much,
so
Tabitha.
inclined, make sure you follow Allie at
Thank
Great
you all. This
Acres.
was wonderful. It was
Maybe drop her
wonderful.
a little donation if you can. I know that's not what she is here for at
Not
all,
at all.
but this is a
But
really
thank you,
lovely, caring.
for letting me share my story. I really appreciate it. I really do.
Absolutely.
And
And
I
I'm going to
appreciate
hold you to
everybody
it.
that hopped on here tonight.
Yes, and I'm going
So
to
much
hold you to
fun.
it. We need to figure out a way to work together. We need
Yes,
to figure out a way somehow. I need to powwow with you. I need your energy and your enthusiasm, and
we
I
will
will
definitely do it.
continue to learn from
We
you
will
as
do it.
well. So
All right, Tabitha. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone that was on here.
thank
So
you.
much
Yes,
fun.
everybody that has joined us again, I will share with you any of the feedback I get, but I know people probably love this program for so many more reasons, because much of this community also I chat with in various ways. Many of them know they can get me by my cell phone and text. And, just like you said, grief is something that everybody has to deal with,
Yes,
and everybody loves the animals. And I know that.
yes.
A lot of people probably really, really enjoyed tonight's program for that, to hear what you're doing, and maybe they can find something in their own area that might be similar.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love it.
Right.
I do.
All right.
All right, guys.
Much love
Mwah.
to you,
Happy
Alex.
New
Thank you
Year.
so much. Happy New Year. Everybody
Yes.
else, good night,
Bye,
and hopefully we'll
Erin.
see you again. Thank you, everyone.
All right. Good night.
Bye.